Welcome to the webinar for the Research Master Linguistics. My name is Henriette de Schort. I'm the program coordinator, and here's Mark.
And I am Konstantinos Askitidis. I am a second year master student in the Linguistics program.
Excellent. We will be your host this afternoon. There are two people on the chat session. That's Vera and Hanneke. So you can type any questions you have into your chat box, and then they will come back during the Q&A. There's a Q&A at the end of our presentation, and we will see all your questions and we'll try to answer them. But first, a bit more about the program. We are a research master program on linguistics, and that means that we look at language as an object of scientific study. We look at very basic questions like what is language? Why do languages vary so much? So many languages spoken all over the world. Older varieties of the language often different from modern varieties. What is underlying the system of language and what drives that variation? But we also take in Utrecht an approach that is much grounded in cognitive science, and that means that learnability is also one of our foci. So when you think about learnability of language, you realize that languages are learned, right? So we need to know how babies figure out the sounds of their mother tongue, how young toddlers learn words and how they learn to make sentences, but also how you learn languages later in life and why it is so much harder to acquire a foreign language in school than it was when you were a little child. So the learnability question is important in that cognitive perspective, but also the perspective on problems with language disorders, as we call them. Sometimes there are problems with language learning, for instance, with children who suffer from specific language impairment, or children who go to school and we realize that they have difficulty in learning to read and write, dyslexia as we call it. And those are often innate problems. So we look for biological and genetic sources. But there are also language disorders that you can acquire later in life, for instance, aphasia, which may be the side effect of a brain injury, like after an accident or a stroke. And so we are also interested in what happens in the language system of people who have difficulty with language in one way or another. So the approach we take is highly interdisciplinary. I think these few examples show that. And that means that we have an interaction with many different domains. Obviously, we have a relationship with language studies because we study many different languages, but also with the communication department because we study language in daily use, with psychology because we carry out experiments in our beautiful lab at the Utrecht Institute of Linguistics, but also with computer science because we work with large databases, large corpora from different languages, different language stages. And so we need to study them with computational tools. There are also links with philosophy, language and reasoning, language use, also with the medical school, of course, for the clinical linguistic side, and with schools for all kinds of educational issues. So what you see here is that we take language as a very broad phenomenon and as a phenomenon grounded in cognitive science. And that drives the structure of our program. So what are we doing in Utrecht? We are offering you a research master program, and that means that there is a strong emphasis on linguistics research. Not only hearing about research, but also learning how to do research. That takes a while, so it's a 2-year program. In terms of the European credits, that's 120 credits. It's taught in English, and it's really taught in English in the sense that all classes are in English, all study groups are in English, all presentations are in English. And that is needed because we have a very international community of students, and we welcome about 30 incoming students every year. There are many international students, right?
Yeah, indeed. It is. I think they're half of the class.
Half of your class is about international students, yeah. So that makes it easy to also have interactions in English outside of the class, like when you're preparing a group project or talking at the coffee machine, right?
Everybody speaks in English.
Everybody speaks English. That makes life easier. Okay. What does the program look like? Like I said, it's a 2-year program. So let's look at it year by year. Here's the outline of the program for year 1. We start in semester 1 with a whole series of obligatory courses. We call them foundations courses. And they really give you a solid base in all the different areas of linguistics that we are active in Utrecht. So you get foundations of grammar for syntax, you get foundations of sound for phonology and phonetics, you get foundations of meaning for semantics and pragmatics, psycholinguistics, language acquisition, and also a tool-oriented class in digital tools in linguistics, where you learn a bit of programming and corpus research. You are interested in corpus research, right?
Yeah, indeed. I'm gonna do my internship, and I will have to use the corpus as a tool.
Right. And did you learn that already in your bachelor, or did you learn that here?
I learned it here. I got familiar with that.
Yeah. Yeah, so what we focus on, especially in the first semester, is to learn how to do research. So we do a lot of methodology, and that also comes back in the courses you take in semester 2 in the LOT school. LOT is an abbreviation in Dutch for the National Research School of Linguistics. So it's a national school, and so you take classes with other research master students in the Netherlands. And the classes that you take in the LOT Winter School are focusing on methodology. So you learn how to do experimental computational research, how to do statistic data analysis and things like that. So what did you think about the first semester?
The first semester, the foundation courses, it was really challenging, and I struggled a little bit, but here I am, I survived.
Very good.
It is challenging because everyone has to be at the same level. So for me, it was challenging because my background was not that strong. So you need to be motivated in order to go through this. But I'm very glad that I went through that, and I'm really confident about my knowledge now.
Yeah, it's like a pressure cooker, right? That first semester, you learn so much that you were not familiar with, and it brings everyone on the same page. That is important too, because we admit students from a variety of backgrounds. So some people are much stronger in psycholinguistics, others stronger in theoretical linguistics. And by bringing everyone on the same page, we have a much stronger basis for the elective courses. And so that means that the elective courses in the second semester can be taught at a higher level. It also means that we sort of force you to acquire a very broad basis in linguistics, and then in the second semester you get more choice, and you can zoom in on the subdisciplines of your choice, right? So let's look a bit more at the second semester. Here's the range of electives that we offer after the foundations, and you see that it's a long list. And the long list is actually quite structured. So it focuses on the strong features of research in Utrecht. So you see that we are strong in theoretical linguistics, there's syntax, there's phonology, there is semantics and pragmatics. We're also strong in discourse and in communication, in experimental approaches. So you see psycholinguistics, you see language acquisition, but we also prepare you for doing experimental research. There are quite a few students who want to go into the lab. So there's also a course on experimental design and data analysis. So the variety of courses is chosen in such a way that you can use the second semester to zoom in on the sub-disciplines of your choice. But it's also a lot, right? So was it difficult for you to choose from the long list?
Especially on the, I think it was on the third block, there was so many choices that I had to consult the tutor what to do.
Yeah.
On my choices.
Right. So as Constantinos is saying, there's a tutor, and so she's organizing an orientation session, and that will help you choose. There will also be individual advice, right? Because she knows the program very well, and so she can, after one semester, sort of figure out what you are interested in, which area of linguistics you will want to focus your research on, and then she can help you pick the right electives. What I forgot to say, but what is important, is that there are certain features, certain areas of linguistics which we don't have room for in the foundations courses, but which we offer in the electives, like historical linguistics and sociolinguistics. So that comes on top of the familiar domains already from semester 1. Okay, so that's the second semester. Now let's move on to year 2. Before year two, in between year one and year two, you participate in the Lot Summer School. So first you participated in the Lot Winter School, and those were methodology courses. But in the summer school, you get to choose from the general program. And that is good because it allows you to choose courses that fall within your general research area. So after the electives, you have an idea of which way you want to go in linguistics, and you can choose courses in the Lot Summer School that fit that profile. Were there interesting courses for you in the Lot Summer School?
Yeah, there was a huge variety of courses, but you get to choose either if you want to reinforce your methodological background, learn about more, get deeper into statistics, or even with other experimental methods, or if you want to zoom in on your subdiscipline of choice.
Right. And one of the interesting features is also that you get to meet teachers from outside of Utrecht University.
Indeed, yeah.
So it can also complement the offer that is in Utrecht. And that is good because towards the end of the first year, you have to start working and you have to start thinking about what you want to do in your second year. Your second year is mostly focused on individual research, right? You do some coursework in block one, but then you go into the internship and the thesis. The internship is an obligatory part of your training, so every student does an internship. And the internship is about learning how to do research by doing it. So you join an ongoing research project. That can be a research project at the Utrecht Institute of Linguistics. It can be a research project at another university in the Netherlands, at a university abroad. Some of our students go elsewhere in Europe or outside of Europe. You can also go into an independent research institute like the Meertens Institute or the Max Planck. But you join an ongoing project where there is existing research questions, and so you learn by participating in ongoing research how you address these questions. But there are a lot of projects to choose from, right? So you can always find something that fits your research interests.
Indeed. All the fellow students, my fellow students actually have a different researcher, and everyone has a different one.
Yeah, so almost everyone has a different supervisor, so that means that you get well distributed over a wide expertise in the Utrecht Institute of Linguistics. You get a lot of personal attention, right?
Yeah.
As a result, and that's good. The thesis is the final piece of your program, and that is really your calling card for the period after the master. So then you get to choose your own topic. What many students do is to find a project in the area of their choice, in the subdiscipline of their interest, and then they first do the internship in an existing project, and then they learn to build on that research experience to find a question for their thesis, right? That's what many people do.
Yeah, see the methodological background, and then feel more confident on delving deeper into that kind of subfield.
Yeah, and really finding your own questions that you want to answer, right? Yeah, that's how it works. Yeah. So that is the part that students like Konstantinos are looking forward now, because you're really sort of done with your coursework, right? Yeah. I mean, after a whole year of courses, you really want to start doing your own research.
My personal research,
Yes. And so students go in every possible direction. As Konstantinos said, he's interested in corpus research. There are also people who are doing experiments in the lab. We have a very nice lab with all kinds of equipment, phonetic sound booths, I should say. We have eye tracking experiment, we have baby labs. So there are a lot of possibilities, and students do indeed go into every direction. It's very nice to see. Okay, summing up, we have a very well-structured program. And I think this makes us unique as a research master program. We have this obligatory first semester, which gives you a very broad training in the foundations of linguistics. We teach you a lot of methodology, how to do linguistics research. And then we support you with the research seminar and academic skill training with the Lot Summer School, where you get more exposure to the subfield of your choice. And then you dive into your individual research in the second year. Okay. Why would you choose to do this program in Utrecht? I think there are a lot of reasons. Utrecht has a very good reputation for their research master program, but also for their research. We have the Utrecht Institute of Linguistics, which has a very good reputation for research. And because there is a very tight link between teaching and research, and we invite our best researchers to teach in the Research Master Linguistics, and they like to do that, right? They're very committed to the teaching, because this is, of course, the body of students that they are most interested in, because these are students who are interested in their research. It's a very international environment. Konstantinos already mentioned that on the side of the students, but it's also true on the side of the teachers. We have many faculty from many different countries, and it's a very nice city to be in, right? Yeah. So let's say a bit more about the student experience.
Okay, I wanted to start first of all in my experience on why I chose to be a part of this program. I can start. Why should I choose Utrecht? First of all, as we already saw in the previous slide, it is one of the top level universities, and the program as well is really good. I also like the holistic perspective of the program in the schedule, that you get to have foundation courses in all these subfields, like both theoretical linguistics and psycholinguistics, and more experimental driven. I also like the fact that Utrecht and Utrecht University has a strong international community, and that is indeed valid. I've met a lot of international students from all over the world, and the career prospects were really promising when you finish the research master. And I can also give you an overview of how my student life went so far in the program. So the first semester was challenging, as I already said. But that really depends on the background that you have. If your background is weak, you will struggle a little bit, but indeed the result is really good. You will feel confident about the knowledge, and you get to see what you really like and what you can do.
Right.
In the second semester, you felt a little bit more. I felt a little bit more free. I got to choose all these courses offered, and in the law school as well, you can choose from a great variety of courses. And now, during the third semester, I'm just doing my last courses, and I'm looking forward to do the internship and the thesis, which is really my own research and the hands-on, instead of just doing papers and course.
Yeah, so it's the balance between the coursework and the individual research, right? You need to be equipped before you can do that individual research.
You can't just go in and do research without having a background first.
Yeah. Okay, that's very nice to hear. Konstantinos was already talking about career perspectives. Indeed, the career perspectives for our students are quite good. We are a research master program, so one of the avenues that you can take afterwards is to enter a PhD program. And on that point, our program has a good track record, because about 50% of our students find a PhD position and are successful in their academic career. So I think that's very good. About 25 to 30% of our students find jobs outside of academia. Sometimes because during the research master they find out that continuing their studies is not what they want to do. Sometimes they don't manage to find a PhD position because there are no positions in the area that they want to carry out research in. And some students come back to academia later in life. And then there's about a quarter of our students that we don't really know what happened to them. Some of our international students, we are unable to keep track of them after a while. But what we do know is that there is a good success rate, because sometimes we're looking for assistants afterwards, and it's hard because after a year almost everyone has a job. The career path within academia is very clear, right? You go into a PhD program, that's the next step. The career orientations outside of academia are very variable. There are many different ways that people end up doing things. Some get hooked on the computational side of our program and end up going into industry, sometimes as computational linguists or as consultants in data analysis. Other people are more interested in consulting roles in language policy or language education, or end up in communication firms, or some even have a translation bureau. And there is another group who ends up teaching either in high school or in higher education, like undergraduate colleges. And there also their research master training comes in helpful, because in the undergraduate colleges, of course, there's also strong research orientation. But anyway, the career perspectives are overall quite good. Do you know which way you want to go after the research master program?
To be honest, I haven't made up my mind. But indeed, I like the fact that the career perspectives can be can vary. But because I don't know if I also want to do PhD, I haven't made up my mind, or go right to the industry.
Right. Yeah. Well, maybe the individual thesis research will also help you make up your mind, right? That's a long period in which you really focus on doing research, and you can make your own choices, and that is often a good period in which people make up their mind. Yeah. Well, we'll see where you end up, right? Let's hope that you find a good place. Okay. This was the orientation on the program itself. Now let's go into the entry requirements. We admit students from a variety of backgrounds, so you don't necessarily have to have a bachelor in linguistics. We have students with a degree in English language and culture, or Italian language and culture, or many other language and culture programs. Also students who come in with a BA in cognitive science or artificial intelligence, liberal arts and sciences, programs like that. So the label of your BA diploma is less important to me than your background knowledge. I hope it became clear that we already require a certain background in linguistics before you can enter the research master, because otherwise it's just going to be too hard, right? You need to have a certain background. So that's why we require about 45 ECTS in linguistics coursework or related fields. And one of the entry requirements is statistics, or some introduction to quantitative methodology. And that is because our research in Utrecht is very empirical. We do corpus research, we do experiments, we do questionnaires, and almost all these empirical research requires some form of data analysis, right? So that's why we use a lot of statistics in our research, and we simply don't have time to teach you that in the master. But we also know that some of the BA programs do not offer such courses. So if you have a problem in that area, you can email me and I can guide you towards online sources that we can help to remedy the situation. We also require a writing sample, and the writing sample has to be in English because the master program is in English. And so what is important about the writing sample is that it gives us an idea of how well you can explain your linguistic thoughts in academic English. And so that's why it's one of the ingredients of your dossier. A very important piece of this entry requirement is motivation, right? It's a challenging program, and you really need to be motivated in order to do this, because you'll have to study hard, but then you get a big reward. You learn a lot. Yeah. When do you need to apply? Well, the good news is the application system is already open. We started accepting applications by 1st of October. So you can already apply and look at the website and compile all the documents that you need for your application. The deadline for application for students from outside the European Union is 1st of April 2018 for a starting point in September 2018. And for Dutch and EU students, it's 1st of June. You will receive a reply about your admission after about 1 month or 6 weeks, because it takes a while before this is all processed by the system. the dossiers end up on my desk, but I need to consult with colleagues. Sometimes I will invite you for a Skype interview. And so the whole process of decision making takes a little while. But the idea is that you are all clear on your admission before the summer, and that there is enough time to make arrangements for visa and things like that. There are possibilities to apply for scholarships. There are two types of scholarships. There is the Utrecht Excellence Scholarship for non-EU students, and there is the Bright Minds Fellowship for EU students, including Dutch students. The decision on those scholarships will be taken very early. So if you want to apply for either one of these fellowships, you have to submit your application before February 1st. Otherwise, we cannot take it into account for the fellowships. The scholarships are very selective. There are very few of them, so it's hard to get one. But when you get one, it's good. And so we like to try every year to get a fellowship, a scholarship for one of our linguistic students. Sometimes we manage and sometimes we don't. But we try every year. Okay. And that was the end of our presentation already. Yeah. So we're moving to the Q&A session. I think that there are quite a few questions that came in already. Thank you for your attention so far, and stay tuned for the Q&A session. And if you don't get an answer to your question during the rest of this webinar, then feel free to email me. If you write an email to the linguistic coordinator address at the Linguistics website, it will end up in my mailbox. I will see it and you will get an answer from me as quickly as possible. But let's look at any questions. I need to go to this screen and see what came in. Okay. Well, there is a question here from Claudette, who asks if there is a possibility there is room for sociolinguistics and cultural issues during the master's program. I think it's good to point out that we have sociolinguistics in the electives. There's a sociolinguistics class which alternates with a historical linguistics class, and the historical linguistics class focuses on sociolinguistic issues on a language change of language change. But we don't have cultural classes in our master's degree, right? This is really a program that focuses on language and linguistics and not on the cultural side.
But still, if somebody wants to focus on social linguistics, they can do this in the second year, like in the internship. Absolutely,
yes. You can certainly focus on social linguistics in your internship. We have very good faculty who is who has expertise in sociolinguistics, so you can definitely do an internship in that area. If you want, of course, you can also do your internship somewhere else. And there are other places in the Netherlands which are also very good in sociolinguistics. But you might also be interested in other areas of linguistics, or develop an interest in areas of linguistics that we don't necessarily have all the expertise in Utrecht in. And then we create a system of co-supervision, where you go outside of Utrecht, but we stay involved. Mm-hmm. Some of your fellow students do that, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, there's one student who's going to Hong Kong, I know, that's really far away. There's students who are going to the Meertens Institute. Mm-hmm. What else do you know?
No, I don't really know.
Yeah, there's at least one person who's going to Nijmegen. So there are various possibilities. Okay, let's see if there are other questions that come in. Here's a question that comes in from, I can't see the name, but there's a person who is asking whether the master will give them some grounding in experimental work, because they're really interested in that. And so they want to know which taught courses include experimental training and whether they can do an experimental, partly experimental thesis. Do you want to answer that, or do you want me to answer that?
We just get an introduction to experimental training, but you don't get to do it hands-on. But all courses like the Foundations in Language Acquisition, I believe, I had elective discourse cognition and communication course. And language, communication, and emotion, you have to write as the final paper is a research proposal.
Right.
So you should be familiar with what you're going to propose as methodology.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is this elective on experimental design and data analysis, in which you actually learn how to design an experiment. And many of our students carry out true experimental research in the lab, in the LTS lab, during their internship and thesis. And if you want to find out more about what students' research looks like, you can go to the website of the university library. They have a thesis archive. And if you find the thesis archive, you can search for linguistics, and then you can find which theses in linguistics have been produced in the last couple of years. And that also gives you a good idea of actual student research, like what did people write their theses on, and did they actually go out into the lab and things like that. Yeah. Konstantinos, I think there's a good question for you here. What is your favorite course so far and why?
Oh, that's a hard one.
That's a hard question.
I've had some courses that I really enjoyed. I can think maybe which one did I really liked the language change, the one that had some social linguistics in it.
Yeah.
I liked the interfaces course, which had to do with interfaces between the syntax and other sub-disciplines of linguistics. And I also liked the discourse, cognition, and communication, which had to do about the language processing.
Yeah. Okay. Here are some more questions. There's a question from Christina who asks, is a background knowledge in computer languages such as Python required for the course Digital Methods in Linguistics? You didn't have a background in computer languages when you started?
No, not at all.
No. So you learned it here?
Yeah.
Well, I think, Christina, that answers your question, right? We teach you Python in digital tools and linguistics. And that is because many students come in with a lack of knowledge of computer languages, and we find it important that you learn a bit. So there is a difference here between the computational requirement, which is, we teach you the computer programming and the basics of Python, and the statistics, which we really push into the entry requirements. There's another question from Yifan here, who says many universities BA programs like language and culture or liberal arts and sciences don't include courses in statistics. And I'm aware of that problem. And that is why we have selected a number of courses in an online course environment to prepare you for the statistics requirements that we impose. So those classes you can take online before you start your linguistics program. And that will fill the gap. Yeah, and we have good experience with those courses. You don't get EC for it, so they don't contribute to your current BA program, and they don't contribute to your MA program either, but they fill the gap between your BA background and the MA that you want to take. So it's feasible, yeah. Okay, let's see if there are more questions. I have to search a bit. Here's a question about lack of background in linguistics from a person who says, I have a BA in Spanish literature and a teaching certificate and experience in teaching English and English cultural studies, but no formal training in linguistics. That is really a category of students who will unfortunately find themselves rejected from this program. We think that the 45 ECTS in linguistics background that we require is really the absolute minimum. So if you have no formal background in linguistics, your best bet is to take a 1-year master program somewhere, either in your home university, in your home country, or elsewhere in the Netherlands, if you can be admitted. But we will not admit you if you don't have any background in linguistics. But it happens quite regularly, that especially with international students, that students say, well, I couldn't get a degree during my bachelor. My university didn't offer that possibility, but I really want to go into this research master program, and that they do a 1-year MA program and then join us, right? You also know people who did that. Yeah, yeah, it happens regularly. So that's the best advice I can give you here. There is also a question about the writing sample, but it's a bit long, so I have to read it carefully. It says it was optional to write a BA thesis, and this person did not write a BA thesis, and so there is, oh yeah, so there is no demonstrable research experience in that sense. Is it still possible to get in? Yes, it is. The writing sample can be your BA thesis. It can also be a part of your BA thesis, but I'm also aware of the fact that many of you will not have completed their BA thesis before you apply, right? Especially international students who have to apply before the 1st of April deadline are sometimes unable to complete their thesis before they submit their files. In that case, I will ask you to submit one of the papers you wrote for one of your undergraduate classes. So you pick the paper that you're most proud of, that you really think shows off your linguistics abilities, and then you submit that paper. And there's always room in the documentation to say what else you're going to do during the rest of the year, right? So what other courses you will be enrolled in, or whether you will still write a BA thesis. So there's room to indicate what you're going to do in the rest of the year. But a writing sample is needed because, as I said earlier, I really want to know what kind of experience you have with writing in academic English. I think we are reaching the end of our session. Our moderator is coming in and is telling us that we are done. Anything you want to say?
I want also to comment on that, because my degree was also, for my degree the thesis was optional, but I guess that's where motivation comes in, and I wanted to do the thesis. So yeah, I guess maybe a paper shows how much of the level of your academic English is on what your motivation and research is as well.
Okay. Well, we hope you're all very motivated to join our program. I'm looking forward to all your dossiers, and like I said before, if you have any questions that could not be addressed during this webinar, I will be happy to answer them over email. So have a good day, and hope to see you again. Bye. Bye.